Now, for the past couple of weeks, we've been testing out the new Apple Watch Ultra 3. It's the latest generation of Apple Watch Ultra design. Smaller overall bezels, larger display while keeping the same overall design as the previous generation Apple Watch Ultras. We've also been testing the Galaxy Watch Ultra. Now, this originally came out in 2024, and Samsung didn't really refresh the overall design. It's still pretty much the same as the previous generation, although it has slight modifications in terms of color options and things like that. But the real question is, how does the Galaxy Watch Ultra compare to the Ultra 3 Apple Watch? Is it any better? Is it worse? If you're interested, let's get into it. Now, first, let's talk about the design of the Ultra Watch 3. It basically has been optimized in terms of maximizing a little bit more screen size while reducing the bezel size by about 24%, while keeping the same 49mm case size of the previous generation Apple Watch Ultra. The Ultra 3 with the slightly larger screen size also has a bump up in resolution about 5%, and a new OLED panel that offers a little bit better viewing angles, as well as the ability to refresh down to 1 Hz, so allowing you to see the second-hand ticking on your watch face even in standby mode. Now, the Galaxy Watch Ultra essentially looks very similar to the standard Galaxy Watch 8 with a titanium case and kind of a beefier looking exterior. Looks a little bit more rugged with the orange markings around the bezels. And even though most people buying smartwatches in general will never venture off 10 kilometers away from their house, both Ultra watches can go underwater down to about 100 meters deep. They have water temperature sensors and an operation range from minus 20 degrees Celsius to plus 55 degrees. And they both meet the criteria of military grade equipment based on the Department of Defense's 810H standard. Both feel pretty rugged in person, but I do have to say that the Apple Watch, with its overall construction, definitely feels like a more premium watch. The Galaxy Watch doesn't feel cheap by any means, but it doesn't actually feel all that different from the standard Galaxy Watch 8, and unfortunately it doesn't have some of the features as the classic version, which has the rotating bezels. This one just has the center action button and the 2 side buttons, and it would have been nice to have that rotating bezel on the Ultra, but it's sadly not the case. At least the compromise in design does come with a little bit of a price trade-off, since the Apple Watch Ultra is at least $150 more expensive than the base version of the Galaxy Watch Ultra. Furthermore, in terms of band selection, we've chosen basically a sport loop style on our Apple Watch, which is that kind of nylon material. Feels pretty light and durable. And the Galaxy Watch Ultra is now utilizing proprietary slide-in bands similar to what Apple has been doing for the past. And one of the main reasons to do so was to probably also make a little bit of money on the bands, but as well as make the watch a little bit more comfortable on the wrist, since integrating the band directly into the watch body itself eliminates any kind of pressure points that some of the old-style clip-on bands tended to have, which is definitely gonna make the watch a little bit more comfortable to use with, both during the day and if you are gonna do the sleep tracking with the watch. Now, dimensionally, both are quite similar. They both measure around 12 millimeters in terms of thickness, weigh about 60 grams for the actual watch case. And I do think that the Ultra 3 is a little bit more comfortable on my wrist, since it's not as wide, 44 millimeters compared to 47 millimeters. So if you're doing any kind of wrist flexion back and forth, the Ultra 3 is a little bit more comfortable and doesn't dig into your skin too much, and is a little bit easier to sleep with as well. Now let's move on to controls. Now, the Apple Watch Ultra 3 has been pretty much using the same controls since the launch of the device. It's using a custom action button on the side, as well as another side button on the digital crown side, which is going to allow you to do a couple of different things from a functionality standpoint. You obviously have the digital crown with the haptic feedback system, and the tactile nature of the buttons and digital crown definitely make the Ultra little bit more of a premium device. Has a really nice high quality feel and gives you a nice sensation when engaging with the physical buttons. Beyond that, you obviously have the capacitive touchscreen as well as the gesturing controls, including the double tap functionality and the new wrist flick gesture, which allows you to dismiss phone calls or notifications and things like that. On top of the Siri voice integration, which is obviously enhanced by Apple Intelligence. Beyond that, the Galaxy Watch Ultra is a little bit more sparse in terms of physical buttons. You basically have two side buttons and a middle action button. The action button is kind of looks like a digital crown, but it's really not. Would have been cool to have it, but it's just basically a quick menu button that will initiate a workout, or you can have your favorite app to pull up on an instant. You also have gesture controls such as the double pinch, which is the same thing as double tap on the Apple Watch side. Basically allows you to go to next notifications, play and pause music, take a photo from your phone. You also have the shake gesture, which allows you to decline calls or dismiss alerts, and the new knock knock feature, which will bring up specific applications, whether you want to open up a workout, calendar, weather, whatever. You obviously have the Galaxy AI integration, which works similar to Siri. I generally think that the AI integration on both Apple and Samsung is actually poorly implemented. If you ask it too specific a question, it's going to refer you to the web or look it up on your phone, and it's obviously not as powerful as some of the other large LLMs out there, such as ChatGPT and Grok. Would have been cool to have that native functionality built into these things to make them really useful, but that's still not the case. But you could do like general things like voice dictate and ask it questions such as what's the weather like and make a note and things like that. Both watches actually have a universal gesture mode or assistive touch mode on the Apple side, which allows you to use gesture only to control pretty much every aspect of the watch. You can make basically a clenching fist to open up a main menu, and with the double tap or double pinch navigate through the entire OS without actually having to touch anything, which is pretty cool, and it works great on both platforms. Moving forward, both of these watches actually have a emergency siren speaker that's dedicated. Samsung claims that it has actually about 86 decibels in terms of volume, and it can be heard about 180 meters away. Let's do a test and find out which siren is actually louder. As you saw right there, the Samsung was slightly louder, and I do also think that the main speaker is a little bit louder than what's on the Apple Watch Ultra. So this is cool if you're obviously on the phone talking to somebody, their voice is a little bit louder, and you can even play music through the speakers, which sounds like crap, but if you want loud music playing through your watch, the Samsung is a little bit better for that. Now let's talk about the displays. The Apple Watch Ultra has a all-new display. It is about 422 by 514 pixels. It's using a LTPO OLED technology that is very good in terms of viewing angles, and basically has 5% more resolution than previous generation Ultra 2. It also has variable refresh rate and can get down to 1 hertz, so you can see the ticking time, as we mentioned before, on your watch face, and just generally is a better display than the one that we have on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, which is kind of large, about 1.5 inches in terms of a diagonal size. It's a circular display with a resolution of 400 by 400. Both are very good in terms of viewing angles and have a peak brightness of about 3000 nits and have the same overall brightness when you're indoors and outdoors. Moreover, in terms of internal processing, we're using the Apple S10 SoC, which was actually about a year old now. So Apple has not upgraded the processor over here, so we're still using basically the processor found on the Series 10 Apple Watch. It's a 64-bit processor, dual core, and 4-core neural engine, and actually runs Siri locally for all your voice commands, which is pretty cool. On the Samsung side, we're using the Exynos W1000 SoC. It's a 3nm chip, 5 cores, with a dedicated Melee G68 GPU. Furthermore, in terms of storage and memory, we have 2 gigabytes of RAM on the Samsung, 1 gigabyte on the Apple side, but we have more local storage on the Ultra 3, 64 gigabytes versus 32 gigabytes. Great if you're going to be downloading podcasts and songs locally onto the Apple Watch. You have more storage there. In terms of day-to-day usability and general performance, I don't find a significant difference between one and the other. Samsung has some really cool animation that really looks pretty fluid, especially on the workout app, and navigating through menus and things like that is not too much of a big deal. I do find if you're running a lot of tiles on the Samsung, it definitely tends to bog down, versus that doesn't really occur on the Apple Watch unless you're running a lot of applications in the background. Beyond that, in terms of battery life, the Apple Watch has a bump up in terms of battery life on the Ultra 3. We're looking at 42 hours of battery life on always on mode, and in low power mode, you're looking at up to 72 hours. On the Galaxy Watch Ultra, you're looking at 48 hours with always on and about 100 hours in power saving mode. We don't know the exact battery capacity on the Ultra 3, but we do know it on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, which is about 590 milliamp hours. My guess is we have a larger battery capacity on the Ultra 3 compared to the Ultra 2 based on the increase in terms of battery performance. Charging is pretty much the same on both. You're looking at basically the proprietary magnetic puck charger on the Apple Watch Ultra, which charges 30 minutes, about 80%, similar to the previous gen. And we're using a puck charger that's Qi enabled on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, which is more universal, so you can use a standard Qi charger to actually charge the Galaxy Watch. Moving on into one of the big differences between these two, and that is wireless connectivity. On the Ultra 3, we have 5G reduced capacity, so it is basically a 5G networking inside that will give you faster mobile transfer speeds as well as internet connectivity through the watch. And the big thing is emergency SOS via satellite. So if you're out in the boonies, you have that satellite connection, versus that's not available on the Galaxy Watch. It's an LTE modem built inside, and there's no satellite communication in that emergency situation. Now moving forward, let's talk about the OS and navigation. And this is pretty similar to what we encountered with our Galaxy Watch 8 versus Apple Watch Series 11. Generally speaking, the Galaxy series of watches are tied down to the Google Wear OS platform, which is definitely not a bad watch operating system, but it looks like Samsung doesn't really actually want to use it, and based on their squircle design, would love to go with a square interface like the Apple Watch OS. But for the time being, the Samsung is still using Google's Wear OS 6 with their One UI version 8. And the One UI is utilizing these kind of pill oval shaped windows, which feels okay, but is not the best way to maximize such a small screen, and the screen real estate is honestly kind of wasted. But Google Wear OS is intuitive enough, and if you're used to other Samsung Galaxy watches in the past, you should feel right at home over here. Now, the new Watch OS on the Ultra brings the liquid glass aesthetic that we encountered on the iOS platform, on top of having things like the new sleep score capability, so you get a score out of 100, similar to what Samsung has been doing in the past. And you also get the ability to customize your workout view with specific metrics, so you can actually cycle through your different pages and personalize what you want to see on your running app or your cycling app specifically, and do that before you engage your training session. You also get customized personalized audio playlists for specific workouts, so if you're jogging, you can have something chilled, more intense for like strength work and things like that. You also have smart stacks that will come up based on what is initially important for you given a specific situation based on predictive algorithms. You even get context-aware automatic replies on messages, so if somebody asks you where are you, you can send them a pin to your location right away. Now, as far as sleep tracking, fitness, and health marker goes, we're going to briefly go into it, but we have a more detailed breakdown based on our comparison testing with the Series 11 Apple Watch versus the Galaxy Watch 8. But as far as sleep goes, both watches give you a score out of 100. They measure the sleep score differently, so they're not equivalent to each other, but generally you get a good idea of how well your sleep went based on that score. And you could track your progress over the nights. Both systems also give you a breakdown of what stages of sleep you're in throughout the night, the interruptions, duration of sleep, and things like that. I think Samsung's Sleep Coach is a little bit better integrated in terms of suggesting improvements for your sleep. It'll actually give you the bedtime, so the time they actually went to bed, followed by the latency of when you actually went to sleep, dismiss any kind of interruptions, and just give you total sleep time. And just the fact that Samsung has been tracking sleep for a little bit longer than Apple definitely shows on the app integration, and you just get a better insight to what your sleep is like and how to improve it. Beyond that, in terms of fitness tracking, both have auto detection to start a workout. I do find that the consistency is a little bit better on the Apple Watch side. So sometimes Samsung doesn't actually detect whether you're on a run or using a bike to actually go on a bike ride, versus on the Apple side, it always detects those things based on your movement and heart rate. However, once you've initiated the workout, both offer pretty much the same metrics, and you can customize the overall look and feel of your specific workout app. Both systems offer precise GPS tracking, so you can segment waypoints within a given ride or run and compare and contrast to your previous sessions. Both have multi-sport triathlon modes, and they actually transition between the sports differently. On the Apple Watch side, it does it automatically and fairly seamlessly for what I understand. But on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, you actually have to press the action button to go into a different sport, which can be cumbersome in a race environment. Most serious athletes that I know are using Garmin watches or chest-mounted heart rate monitors to actually get more precise and reliable data. But for your average weekend warriors that want a rugged smartwatch, I think both offer a pretty compelling option, with the advantage on the Apple Watch from an auto detection standpoint and a consistency or reliability standpoint when it comes to actually tracking your workouts without having to think about it too much. Now, as far as general health monitoring goes, both obviously have optical heart rate monitors that will detect low and high heart rates, irregularities in your heart rate with the ECG, and have official certification to give you signs if you have AFib or not. Some of the unique advantages on the Apple Watch side is that it has hypertension awareness, which is approved by the FDA in the US and is pending approval in other regions. So it will give you an official certification whether it actually detects you have hypertension, which is basically high blood pressure. You also have a noise app built inside, which will study environmental noise and let you know if you're causing any permanent hearing loss or damage. If you're a diabetic in North America, specifically in Canada, and use a Dexcom glucose monitor, you actually have an official app that's supported, so you can monitor your glucose directly from your Apple Watch, which is not supported on the Samsung side. Now, some of the advantage on the Galaxy Watch Ultra is that we have basically the same advantage on the regular Galaxy Watch, which is including a body composition, basically a fat percentage monitor. Now, this isn't totally accurate, but you can use it as a tool to see your progress. You also get the ability to detect advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which in short are damaged fats and proteins that can accelerate the aging and disease process. And you get a general score of what your relative range should be to be on the healthy side. You also have vascular load sensing capabilities of basically how efficient your body is in delivering nutrients to your entire body, whether that be oxygen or general nutrients. You also get an oxidative reading, so you can use your thumb on the back of the optical heart rate monitor and measure the amount of free radicals and oxidative distress that's circulating in your body. With this, you get a measurement range of 156 up to 722, and the lower the score, the better it is. And generally speaking, if you want to improve your score, you want to eat more fruits and vegetables. Now, to sum up everything we've talked about, I just want to go over the benefits of each watch. First, I want to talk about the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra. It definitely has the more color options available, so if you want a little bit more variety in terms of the titanium finishes, the Galaxy Watch Ultra has some more options compared to just the two color options on the Apple side. Another thing we notice is that the Siren as well as loudspeaker is slightly louder than what the Apple Watch has. The speaker just has a little bit more volume, which is great for voice calls or if you want to use that Siren in emergency mode. Furthermore, just like the Galaxy Watch 8, the sleep tracking is a little bit better thought out. The app is a little bit more mature, has better metrics, and is just a better sleep experience from a software standpoint. Beyond that, we have some built-in health tracking markers that are not available on the Apple side, such as the body composition, the AGE score, vascular load, as well as things like measuring the amount of antioxidants that's in your blood with the thumb reader. Furthermore, we have slightly better battery life in terms of real-world performance, which definitely counts when you're using these smartwatches to both track your sleep and day-to-day life. And lastly, it's about $150 cheaper than the Apple Watch Ultra 3, not including any sales. And there's a lot of sales right now on the Ultra watches from Samsung. You typically get them for way cheaper than MSRP. Now let's get into the advantage on the Apple Watch Ultra 3. Firstly, if you're into going outside and in an emergency situation need to make a satellite emergency SOS call, well, we have that feature exclusively on the Ultra 3. Not to mention we have 5G compatibility for faster mobile network connections, more internal storage of 64 gigabytes compared to 32 gigs on the Samsung side. I really do love the fact that the screen can refresh down to 1 hertz per second, so you can actually see the ticking clock on the second hand, which is pretty cool when the screen is in standby mode. Furthermore, I do feel that the build quality is a little bit better than the Galaxy Watch. Just feels a little bit better put together, even though both have titanium cases, sapphire crystal glass tops. But just the Apple Watch feels a little bit more premium and certainly has a little bit better design in my opinion. Not to mention better tactile feedbacks on the buttons. You have the digital crown interface, as well as the notion that the Apple Watch interface with the square design and the Apple Watch OS is just a little bit more intuitive and easier to use compared to the Google Wear OS, which is also covered by the One UI skin that is inherent on the Galaxy Watch Ultra. Now on paper, the Galaxy Watch Ultra is just as rugged and capable as the Apple Watch Ultra 3 in terms of how deep you can go. The overall construction and material is pretty much the same. And basically the Galaxy Watch Ultra just feels like the standard Galaxy Watch 8 in a muscle suit. It doesn't offer any significant advantages over the standard Galaxy Watch, apart from just the overall rugged kind of aesthetics and functionality. It doesn't have the rotating bezel that the Classic has, and the action button, although nice to have, doesn't have the greatest implementation. Therefore, I would find it really hard to recommend the Galaxy Watch Ultra for even the hardcorest of Samsung user. I'd probably recommend either the standard Watch 8 or the classic Galaxy Watch. Now, when it comes to the Apple Watch Ultra 3, it's more a flex than anything else. Just like the iPhone Pros, most people just get it to kind of show off, and they rarely use the benefits that those premium models have. Unless you're gonna go underwater 100 meters or need that satellite SOS communication, the Ultra is really not necessary. And I find it hard to justify the price point over the standard Series 11 Apple Watch. Now, if you are curious to see how the Series 11 compares against the Galaxy Watch 8, we have that direct comparison on the channel. Check out the description down below if you want to watch that video. But in the meantime, please make sure to like and subscribe, have post notifications turned on, and let me know what you guys think is the best watch out there in terms of having the best sleep tracking, fitness, and just general smartwatch. Which one are you guys using and which one would you like to get next? Thanks again. We'll see you later. Take care.